Hello and welcome to The Learning Lounge, iHasco's monthly podcast series where we delve into a variety of subjects as we look to uncover opinions, expertise and experiences with our studio guests. Today, we're exploring the world of customer service and the challenges around being present for clients. We'll be speaking to our guests about what a typical day in their role looks like, what motivates them, and how they overcome challenges. And we're joined by two incredible guests today. We have Sam Cornell, Business Development Manager for iHasco, and Molly Brayne, Customer Support Team Leader for iHasco. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
Very welcome.
So Sam, starting with you, if you can just describe your role. How does it relate to customer service and what are the key responsibilities that it entails?
Yeah, so while my role isn't customer service per se, a huge part of business development is nurturing and supporting clients. So a big part of what we do is customer service, whether it be, supporting them through their initial inquiry, finding out what's important to them, what their needs are, and essentially just holding their hand all the way through to the point of sale. So like I say, customer service is a vital part of business development. And ultimately, we do what's right for the customer and the client. So I like to call it ethical selling, basically. So that's how customer service falls into my role here at iHasco.
Oh, fantastic. Well, just break that down for me. Ethical selling. Just give me that little definition if you can.
Yeah, so everyone knows the stereotypical, like Terry Tibb style secondhand car salesman. That's not what we're about here. We're very much about what's doing right for the customer. And that's a huge part of our role within new business is to identify their needs, try and guide them towards, whether it be a certain model or certain product that works well for them. And then essentially not pushing them into anything they're not comfortable with. We do what's right for them and support them through that journey.
It's a win-win for both sides,
Exactly.
right? I mean, there's no point in pushing people down a path they shouldn't be on.
Exactly.
So that's great. Really good to hear that. So Molly, tell us a little bit about your role. How does it pertain to customer service?
So I am the customer support team leader here at iHasco. We've got a team of nine of us. I sit on the floor with everyone. I actually get involved in the day-to-day customer support duties, so involving answering the phone, replying to tickets, answering live chat conversations, but also being a team leader role. I really use my leadership skills to make sure that the rest of the team are doing the same thing. So through coaching techniques, mentoring, just making sure that they're performing as best as they possibly can. I'm very lucky to have an amazing team, so it's not too difficult for me. But yeah, just making sure that customer service level is really high at all times. Talking to customers is something that is part of our day-to-day role. So making sure that problems are resolved, issues are ironed out as smooth as possible, and also directing them through to the correct people if they need to speak to somebody different.
Lovely. And, your team leader now, just maybe we could talk a little bit about how you both, got into your respective roles. Is it straight in at team leader? How did that sort of growth work for you and how did you gain your experience? What was the motivation that kicked it all off as well?
So I actually started at iHasco as a customer support apprentice. So that was 6 years ago now. I started as an apprentice and then went through to a customer support assistant. And then I've been in my team leader role for 2 years now. So I've sort of worked my way up gradually. So it's really nice to sort of see that progression looking back and sort of seeing where I started and looking at where I am now. I get a real sense of satisfaction from that. So yeah.
Did you sort of identify traits in your own personality that you felt that you were cut out for this kind of role then? Because it sounds like you sort of identified that initial apprentice role within customer service and I guess, at a young age, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So I am really passionate about helping people. I think that's something, I was one of those people who I left school and I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. However, I knew that being involved with people, helping them out and just making people smile is something that I am really passionate about. So customer support felt really fitting for that. So I sort of went from there and then I just went with it and here I am.
Grew. I love it. Sam, what about yourself? What was your path that sort of led you into this realm of work?
Yeah, so I did various retail jobs when I was younger, from like 16 until about like 21, 22. And that was always very customer focused. And I think the skills that I honed during that time have helped me in my role here at iHasco. So when I joined the company 2.5 years ago, I joined as a business development executive, which is very much, going out there trying to identify new opportunities in sales. We call it self-gen. So it was a bit of a slog. But again, now where I'm at, we deal with more inbound inquiries and I deal with bigger clients. And I just find that all those skills that I honed during my teens and, early adult life have now helped me when it comes to communicating, I think resilience as well comes into it. I'm sure you can relate to that, Molly. But yeah, like I said, I think it was those early years experiences from my career that have sort of guided me to where I am today.
Great stuff. And you just touched on sort of the resilient side of things. I'm guessing there are a fair few challenges that come with customer facing and customer service roles. What are the kind of challenges that you face on a day-to-day basis when it comes to this kind of stuff?
I think it's the striking a balance within new business. We obviously have a job. Our main job is to sell and to bring in revenue. But ultimately, I really like to help and support people. So I think the challenge for me personally is striking that balance between me offering that support and helping that client, and then leaning on the customer support team as well. Like, can you help me, please? And it is just, it's just trying to find that balance with ultimately chasing our targets and our revenue goals, but also just wanting to help people and nurture them through, like I say, the sales cycle as well.
For anyone listening who's maybe got similar responsibilities or kind of in a similar kind of role, how do you draw the line where you say that you need to pass this on to the kind of the experts in the customer service team, where your sort of skill set or even your time and resources are kind of getting strained?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when it comes to my knowledge, if I don't know, I will just go and ask and I will pass it on. Even if it's just a case of asking Molly or someone from support what the answer is so that I can go and tell them. If I don't know, then I'm not going to try and blag it. And I feel that's quite an important thing within a sales environment as well. You don't want to be mis-selling or, guiding people towards solutions that aren't right for them. When it comes to workload, I think, and I've done this with you before, haven't I? I'll be like, I'm sorry, but I'm just flat out today. Could you please just help these guys? So I think the thing is, any advice to anyone who's out there in a similar role is just to, it's okay to lean on customer support or, whether it be IT or whoever it is, that's what they're best at. So don't feel guilty about seeking support and advice if you find yourself, just overwhelmed or overloaded, really. That would be my advice to anyone out there.
It's interesting as well that to think if you're on the customer side, the idea of being passed from one to another can feel a little bit like you're going round and round the houses.
Yeah.
So it's nice that you can also speak to your customer service team, get a little bit of advice, and hopefully keep the customer just with you for that period of time.
Agreed. Yeah. And I think my way of dealing with that is to tell them, I'm just going to speak with support, or this time I'm going to pass you over just because I'm not sure, and try and make a bit of humor out of it. Because that way they just feel a little bit more at home. But I do agree, you don't want to just be passing around people for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, definitely. And Molly, what about you? Most common challenges, is it that Sam sends you so many people that he should be dealing with?
No, not at all. So similar to Sam, I suppose, like that, finding that balance. So something that I not necessarily struggle with, but find a little bit tricky sometimes, is finding that balance from providing amazing customer support and making sure that you're providing top-notch level and getting things done quickly and efficiently. Obviously, we want to do both, and it's sometimes you sort of lean on one or the other. So it's just finding that nice balance between the two, and something that I sort of share with the rest of the team, it's really important to sort of find that fine line. There's that, and then there's dealing with difficult customers. You get that in any customer facing role. You're always going to speak to some people who are slightly more tricky to handle. So it's just using your empathy skills, your emotional intelligence, things like that, just to make sure that you're connecting with that client on a personal level.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, I mean, you must have, not I want to say horror stories, but you must have had some particularly difficult situations. Are there any that you can sort of tell our listeners, our viewers, about where you've sort of been able to they have been a real difficult situation, maybe a particularly difficult customer, but you've managed to resolve it in a way that you've maybe even implemented going forwards, certain tactics or strategies that sort of you learned from that?
Yeah, so there was a particular client a few years ago who was having difficulty with something on our learning management system. They just weren't quite understanding how to upload their users, and they were sort of really hitting a brick wall in terms of, how do I do this? So we were sending them all the relevant guides, sending them emails with step-by-step instructions. It wasn't working for them. So I said, look, let's just hop on a Teams call. We'll sit there for as long as you need, and we'll just go through it together. We'll go through each step one by one. It did take a little bit of time because they were a little bit slower on the system. You get people like that, but they were so appreciative after that. I actually took that time just to sit down with them and sort of take my time. And by the end of the call, they'd uploaded their users. everything was all good and they had a smile on their face. So
that's great. I mean, it sounds like, because it's not the kind of thing you'd want to implement as a plan A for everybody because resources just wouldn't allow. But if you know that you have that in your back pocket and the team can fall back on that, like you say, it's a hand-holding exercise, sure, but it's few and far between.
Yeah. So
you can get those customers, finally over the line, because there's always going to be a few slower stragglers.
Exactly. Yeah. Using your judgment. Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. So Sam, maybe you can tell me a little bit about when it comes to the sort of skills that you feel, maybe actually like even touching on your own personal experience, where did you sort of develop the skills or even some of the experience that you feel works best and helps you most with your current role and dealing with customers?
Yeah, so I think quite an important part of my role is resilience, and I learned a lot of that when I was training to be an officer in the Marines for a brief period. So yeah, I think, like I say, resilience is a big part of what we do, and that can be and tie into patience as well. I think, like you just touched upon with your slower clients or those who aren't as computer or tech savvy, it's just exercising patience, and I think the ability to just like wear different hats as well. Because, some clients just want to be spoke to by email, some want Teams calls, some want phone calls. It's just the ability to sort of juggle personalities and character types, essentially. And I think communication skills, just generally speaking as well, are really important, just articulating properly, listening as well. And like I touched on at the start, I think really I just picked that up from, my early days, whether it be working in places like Sainsbury's, Adidas, etc., in customer orientated roles where they're always right. Sometimes they're not. It's just like I say, it's listening, communication, and resilience. They'd be my main three, like the magic triangle.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that customer facing stuff in the retail, that's definitely one side of it. The military stuff is definitely, I can just imagine you sort of the lip biting, the teeth gritting as someone's telling you something that you don't agree with, and you just have to go with it.
Yeah, and I think it's just
not to say that's how you should deal with every customer. No. You just have to go and do everything they say, but it's like you've developed a thicker skin or an ability to not rise to certain things.
Yeah, I think it's just not blowing your top off basically when someone's like not quite getting it, and how frustrating that can sometimes be. No one's trying to intentionally be annoying. It's just some people struggle to understand things as quickly as you might, for example. So it's just a case of telling yourself that, so that again you just exercise that patience and just support them accordingly.
Okay, nice. And Molly, what about you? What do you think that the essential skills are that you have that work with customer service specifically?
I think Sam's touched upon most of them, but I think active listening is really important. Patience, like you mentioned. Empathy is a really good one. Putting yourself in the customer's shoes. If you have a customer who's really frustrated with something, it's quite quick to judge. You can be like, oh, they're a bit angry on the phone today. But so putting yourself in their shoes, you can realise, actually, I would feel exactly the same. I would feel angry. I would feel frustrated. So that's a really big one. Just all three of those combined. There's lots of other things, but I feel like those are sort of maybe the most important ones.
And do you find that you have to do certain things to keep your skills sharp, or is it just this being in it day to day that sort of keeps those things sort of primed and keeps that experience growing?
Yeah, so we would, as a team, myself and the rest of the customer support team, we are always up to date on our soft skills training. We actually complete the iHasco courses quite regularly, just to ensure that our communication skills, active listening, etc., we're just clued up on how we can actually put those into action. But we also run monthly focus groups as a team. So we sort of have sessions where we're talking about various different topics, similar to the soft skills courses, but it just allows us to sort of communicate as a team and collaborate. We call them campfire sessions. So we sort of sit round together and we just have a chat, which it does really help, just sort of sharing experiences, sharing thoughts. And that really helps us just sort of keep on top of our skills.
Well, yeah, I mean, because everybody's slightly, if their headsets on and they're speaking to customers all day, you're never going to be able to sort of listen in on every single thing or get everybody's experience. They've all got so much experience that's coming through. So it's nice to have that kind of moment once a month, like you say, to be able to just share the key things that they felt they've learned or questions that they've raised, I'm guessing.
Yeah, exactly.
That's great. So Sam, maybe that's something you can start with your team as well.
Join our campfire
do some
sessions.
campfires. Get the marshmallows out.
I love that. Do you actually go out and do a little
No,
campfire?
there's no campfire
I think
involved,
this
yeah.
may be, weather's
Missing
good.
a trick there.
Oh, we're
Yeah.
missing a trick. I think it's soon to be a real campfire trip. Great stuff. So tell me a little bit about how technology has impacted customer service. You've obviously alluded to the iHasco courses, which, obviously digital online courses, soft skills and hard skills too. I mean, everything that that can help keep those sort of customer service skills primed and sharp. But what about when it comes to technology and maybe there's AI, maybe there's things that are sort of being, new softwares that are coming out. I mean, how do you stay on top of those, and what are the kind of things that maybe our listeners and viewers would like to hear about?
So in customer support, we've actually just recently launched a new platform that we host our tickets and emails from. We're using Freshdesk, and that has some amazing features. It uses AI, so it's a Freddy AI. So we're able to measure customer sentiment. We're able to generate auto responses, things like that, just so we can get back to our customers as quickly as possible. So using that technology has really helped us, and it's been fantastic in making sure, going back to my point about getting that balance between efficiency and that customer support, that's really helped with that, sort of make that spot on, basically.
And how is that when you're trying to implement a new system like that? Because I think a lot of people can sort of be put off by just the idea of having to learn a new system, integrate a new system, get everybody in their team up and running. How was that whole process? And obviously, I'm guessing the benefits outweighed the sort of effort that it took, but you tell us.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely daunting. We had some sort of nervous people within the team. Change is scary. And that's a given. However, we were very lucky with Freshdesk that it's super easy to use, really intuitive, and actually relatively similar to the platform that we used before. So there was no disruptions to us communicating with our clients. We were able to contact them in exactly the same way. Nothing changed for them. They could still email us. They could still contact us on live chat. They could still call. So there was no disruptions to service in that respect. So it actually went really smoothly. I'm touching wood just in case anything happens, but it went really smooth. And we're still able to support our clients in exactly the same way, if not better.
And is there a preference for clients about how they like to get in touch? I mean,
it varies. I would say tickets is probably the easiest way for them to reach out. However, we do have a lot of phone calls. Some people just prefer to pick up the phone and speak to someone. I know that's my preference, is speaking to someone. I find that's quicker to get things resolved. So it varies. It's a real balance. But we also have a chatbot as well on our platform now. So if somebody doesn't want to speak to a customer support representative, which sometimes is not needed, the chatbot provides all of the answers for them as well. So we've got various different ways that they can get answers from us.
So really, yeah, it's a little bit for everybody kind of thing there. And
Yeah.
like you say, you have your preference in terms of, a certain system, but actually, it's still good to have the phone ready to go for people who prefer that. And then also the chatbot for people who, just want to fire over a quick
Want to
question.
self-serve. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And Sam, what about yourself? Business development, how does clients like to get in touch and reach out?
I think they still like to get in touch via traditional media, so whether it be email, phone call, whatever it may be. But in terms of how we respond to those inquiries, it has changed with the introduction of Freshdesk and AI. We try and guide them now towards finding their own solutions, just because, when we're dealing with busy times of year, whether, March and September are very, very busy times of year for us. So we're not always able to handhold when it comes to, LMS demos or LMS setup, etc. So we do try and guide them towards whether it be user guides, utilizing the AI functions that we have in place now, because a lot of the time the questions, there is easy answers out there, but it's just you don't know where to go to find them, right? So that's why they get in touch with us. So by allowing them to seek their own answers, they actually get more comfortable with the system, and it therefore, once they do decide to go ahead and proceed with us, they're more comfortable and they're less likely to be, leaning on Molly and the support team. So I would say that personally, all the new technology that's come into place has been a fantastic addition to our platform and what we have to offer. However, that's not to say that just all the time I'm just like, just go and see AI, see chat function. That's not the case at all. If they're still not getting it, or if it's like I touched on earlier, wearing different hats, if it's someone that likes to have, a bit more support and a face to an email or a call, then I'm more than happy to always jump on and, support them and just show them how it's done. But But yeah, I think technology has been a wonderful addition to what we have here.
Great. And again, same as Molly, it sounds like just having a bit of everything at your disposal rather than going all eggs in one basket with one thing and then potentially, alienating some core, customers and clients and things. It sounds like the best way, a mix.
Yeah.
You're bringing in the new technology, holding on to some of the old stuff just so that people can get used to it. And like Sam was saying, sort of, it's a process of them actually becoming more like learning more about what you have available anyway, and they sort of end up self-serving to some extent in a lot of it. That's great. So tell me, when it comes to, obviously you're saying, customers are super duper happy. We know this. Well, how do you know this? How do you measure customer satisfaction? How do you measure customer expectations? What's your process with it? Sam, perhaps you can start.
So I think with me personally, it's just it is returning business. So we find that within new business, people will move to different organizations and they say, oh, we've used iHasco in the past. We've always been super happy with, whether it be the course content or the LMS
or the hosts.
Or the hosts, exactly.
Totally.
But mainly I think it is the support that we offer here. I think that's what sets us apart from the competition is the friendly face, the additional support that they get throughout. And in terms of day to day, I think I'm quite proud of the level of customer service that I provide for my clients, for prospects, etc. And it is, it's quite hard to measure, but I'd say it's the email responses, it's their tone on the phone. If you're willing to put some time aside and go out of your way to speak to them and actually, support them, then they're more likely, in my experience, to choose iHasco rather than competitors. So I think that's the main way that I would measure it. It's just through email responses, tone on the phone, and returning business as well.
Nice. It sounds like perhaps, I'm assuming, Molly, this is a slightly more holistic approach to it than maybe you guys would take, probably because you're probably held to more account specifically on statistics or survey responses. What are the kind of metrics that you sort of value the most, and how do you measure it?
So with Freshdesk, we're very lucky that it's got a great analytics system. So we're able to pull reports. We're able to find out what our top call drivers are. So we're able to find out what our customers are asking. But we're also able to work out our first response times from our agents, our first resolution time. So how quickly we've come to a resolution on a ticket. Customer satisfaction surveys. So that was a bit of a tongue twister there. Customer satisfaction surveys, time to value, all things like that. That can all be pulled from our Freshdesk service. We can also seek feedback from it. So we can seek feedback from customers based on how they thought that conversation went with an agent. And we're always acting on that feedback as well. So if there are areas which we feel we can improve, we would always reach out to them and see if we can help them out a bit further. So it's great. The platform actually seeks everything and it pulls reports on various different things.
Fantastic. And if certain metrics come in under target or not where you'd like to see them, like what's your sort of strategy, or how do you go about then trying to rectify that kind of thing?
So we'd always speak to if it was on a particular agent, for instance, we would speak to them first, try understand the situation. We realise sometimes that there can be an explanation as to why that happened. And then we just delve a bit deeper into that particular client in terms of what's going on, what's the problem, how can we fix this, seek advice from the account managers, from the business development team. I think sort of speaking to various different teams sort of cross-functionally really, really helps, sort of making sure that everyone's involved in that process, and then just making sure that we fix the relevant problems.
That's good. So you kind of use those sort of maybe more automated functions to pull out the red flags, and then you can deal with them more manually and take a bit more time with them, but actually gives you a good scope of where you are generally, I'm guessing.
Definitely.
That's really nice. Have you noticed a change in customer expectations over the years? Are people becoming more intense? No, is that the right word? I don't know. Are they is the bar raised because of some of the tools that you're using, the ability to get back super duper quickly and everything? What would you say about customer expectations when it comes to customer service nowadays?
I think the enhancement in technology and customer support has definitely increased expectations of how quick we should be responding, because we're across many different channels in customer support. So we've got chat, we've got phones, we've got the chatbot, we've got tickets, etc. I think when somebody gets in contact, they expect a reply really, really quickly. So that's definitely increased from when I first started 6 years ago. I feel like that expectation has definitely increased. But the good thing about, again, I feel like I'm singing fresh chef's praises at the moment, but we have SLAs set. So we're able to determine how quickly we should be responding based on the type of inquiry that's come in. So that definitely helps. Right. But yeah, I would say that expectation of quick responses has definitely increased.
Well, it definitely sounds, I mean, like you say, it's not a Fresh Desk promo podcast,
yeah,
but
it's not.
It sounds like it's making, this is really making your lives and the lives of your team so much smoother. So,
yes.
It can only be a useful, bit of experience and tip for people to know about, to be honest.
Definitely.
And Sam, what about yourself? Have you noticed customers or client expectations change? You touched obviously upon the fact that they're sort of able to, with a bit of guidance, maybe sort of self-learn a little bit more. I mean, are people becoming a little bit more willing on that side, or there's still that sort of expectation for that support?
Yeah, I think there is still an expectation there. And like I say, that is what sets us apart from the competition, is that easy access to a Molly or, a human face, someone on the end of the line who can actually support them. A lot of, different providers out there offer AI solutions when it comes to, user guides or just being able to sort of circumnavigate the platforms for themselves. But like I say, I don't think they have that human element there as well. So I think people now, when they go to market and look for solutions, kind of expect the self-help, the user guides, the AI functionality, but they don't necessarily expect the friendly person on the end of the phone, the ability to just be able to jump on a Teams call quickly with one of our agents. And that's why, I think iHasco is, one of the market leaders when it comes to, e-learning solutions. I also think that the people I deal with, sometimes with larger organizations, they can be fiercely independent. So one of the first questions I do get asked is about the AI and the ability to, upload their own stuff, and they just want to be able to crack on. So I feel like the way the world is changing, they do just expect to have these, technology features in place, which luckily we do now.
Do you feel like that's sort of a progression now to seeing customer service, and this is a question, not a statement, but like that customer service is more of it could be a dying art essentially, or do you feel like it's still going to be a place for that human element going forwards? Obviously you mentioned these sort of fiercely independent kind of clients who just I want a robot, I want to crack on and go away kind of thing, but what do you think?
I think it's more important now than ever, because we've all been there, right? When we've tried to contact our bank, and you go through layers and layers and layers of robots, and you're just there for hours, and it takes ages, right? So the fact that we still provide, a face-to-face, a human element to our customer service, like I say, is more important now than ever. I think a lot of businesses worldwide, whether it be to cost saving, efficiency, or just trying to measure customer service on these metrics, whether it be through surveys or, whatever. So the fact that we still do this and are proud of that level of service that we provide, like I say, that's what sets us apart, and that's what's more important now than ever in today's world.
Well, like you say, it's always a pleasant surprise for them when they realize they're going to be speaking to a real person who's going to guide them through things. Molly, I'm hoping you're not going to say that customer service is a dying art, but is there a skill shortage in the area? Are you guys struggling to find the good people nowadays because maybe it's viewed as that from the outside of those coming into this area of the industry?
Yeah, I get the view. It's a yes and no question. I absolutely don't think it's a dying art, but I do see why people view it that way. I think because of the advancement in technology and sort of the more specific needs that customers need in terms of support, you need to be really specific about the help that you're giving them. It's no longer just a general, I'll pick up the phone and we'll just help them out. It's quite specific. So using examples of myself when I've been in touch with various companies, I'm quite happy to self-serve, but when I need those really specific things fixed, or I have quite a complicated question, I don't want to be going through a chatbot. I don't want to be going through user guides to find the answer. I want to speak to a human being. So I think training the team and making sure that we're using our problem-solving skills to really get into the nitty-gritty of what customers need, that's the more sort of tricky part. So I think we're definitely still needed. We're not going anywhere. I think we're definitely still around.
Yeah,
we're here to help.
100%. And actually, to be fair, as we see AI coming into all these various areas, it's not to say that it won't infiltrate and hopefully help in many ways, but actually the good people, you still need the really, really good people, because they're the ones who go above and beyond and really make the experience that much better. I mean, what advice would you have for someone who's out there who's listening? It's like, I know I would be fantastic in the customer service area. Like, what advice would you have for them in terms of looking to start their career in this area of the industry?
I think the most important one is putting the customer at the forefront of everything you do, regardless of whether it's a really trivial, sort of a really quick help, going that extra mile, making sure that you're doing everything you can to support that customer, using your communication skills, using your problem solving skills, and actually being really proactive. It's quite tempting to be reactive in customer support and just wait for the queries to come in, but actually go out looking for ways that you can help customers and make their experience just much better. So just using all of those combined.
Fantastic. And before we wrap up, I think, Molly, you kind of gave some good advice on this already, so I'll ask this one to Sam. What do you believe sets apart an exceptional customer service experience from an average one?
I think it's just going the extra mile. It's just the ability to actually listen to what they've said and then guide them accordingly. It's like Molly said earlier about active listening. We can all just have, almost like AI, have these predetermined responses in our heads just ready to go. But with the human element, I think it is just, again, it's just breaking it down. This person, not intentionally trying to be annoying or frustrating, it's just a person who needs support, really, and I think in terms of, exceptional ability, I think it's showing that empathy, it's being supportive, and it's just communicating with people on a human to human level. We can all feel frustrated at times. We can all lose our patience or just get a bit wound up. But I think the thing is just to, like I say, and like I said at the start of the podcast, just exercise that patience and just realize that, we're all going to need support at one time in our lives or another. And when it comes to, our LMS and iHasco, that's what we're here to do. And I think you just need to remind yourself that, like Molly said, the customer is the most important person. And that's, that needs to be the center of what we do here.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Well, it sounds like a great place to end this conversation. So I'll turn back to the viewer and say that does conclude this month's episode of The Learning Lounge by iHasco. Hopefully you've learned a thing or two about the challenges of being present for clients, the importance of exceptional customer service to overcome these challenges as well. And of course, guys, a special thanks to both of you, Molly and Sam, for being here today and sharing such valuable insight and experience from two sides of the same coin in a way, both dealing with customers in such an important way, but kind of both have really interesting methods to get to where you need to get to, and also the kind of metrics that you use to sort of evaluate how you're getting on as well. I thought it was really interesting to see they're actually kind of different, you know what I mean? We covered, some of the key bits of advice that you guys have had for people today. Always remembering the human touch, the active listening sounds like it's such a key part of it. And I know, Molly, that you said that your team are often doing the active listening, soft skills, iHasco courses to keep abreast and keep your skills sharp as well. But also, putting the customer first, whether it's a client on your side, Sam, and dealing with them in that, careful and calm way, and keeping your maybe military head on to make sure that you can have a thick skin and listen to any sort of maybe sort of more intense, painful conversations. Customer's always right at the end of the day. But yeah, it's great. And I hope that everyone who's been listening to this has learned a lot as well. So if you would like to listen again or share this podcast, you can visit the iHasco website, YouTube channel, or find the pod on Spotify, where you'll be able to listen on demand. And thank you both.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And we'll see you all next time.